Hello everyone, my name is Dalton Teal and welcome to episode 2 of Orange Table Talk. The goal of Orange Table Talk is to provide a space for students to come to the table to share their experiences on Rocky Top in partnership with the Vice Chancellor for Communications Office. Today at the table we have 4 Jewish students who are going to be talking about their experiences in light of some recent events that have taken place on campus this past academic year.
Hey all, my name is Maddie Stevens, and here at the table with us are those 4 students. We have Jamie Marquis, a senior nutrition major from Memphis, Tennessee, and Emily Schulman, a junior biomedical engineering major from Louisville, Kentucky.
We also have Navit Nachmias, who is a freshman studying anthropology from Plymouth, Minnesota, and Mitch Moskowitz, who is a senior studying political science from Memphis, Tennessee. Everyone, how are we doing?
Good.
Awesome. I guess to kind of start off is everyone could just go around and talk about how you ended up at the University of Tennessee and what that decision process looked like and what it's been like since you got here. Because we've got some out-of-staters and some in-staters, so.
I can start.
Yeah, awesome.
So, like you said, I'm from Memphis, and I grew up kind of, my friends joke, it was like a double life. So I had like my school friends, and I was like the only Jewish girl. And then I had like my Jewish friends. And so as I went through high school, my mom always told me like, you want to go somewhere with a Jewish population for college. So it was like a big factor. And so I was applying to here and like a few other SEC schools that had, I'll be honest, like larger Jewish populations. And at the end of the day, like in-state tuition was just hard to turn down. And like we had a few like Knoxville family connections. And so I knew I could still be Jewish here, but it was just kind of like in-state was the big motivator.
I relate to that.
Yeah, to be honest, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm from Minnesota, so quite a ways away, about a 15-hour drive. And so I had not considered Tennessee until end of October. I was actually visiting the University of Kansas and talking to one of their academic advisors, and he had said something about how the University of Tennessee has a great forensic anthropology program, which is what I want to do. And I was like, University of Tennessee, Knoxville, like, I need to look that up. So then I did, and on the drive home, I was like, Mom, can I apply? And this was like end of October, so I had like 10 days to apply to get that priority deadline. And so I did, and I also applied to the Chancellor's Honors Program. And so it got down to being between University of Wisconsin-Madison and here. And when I thought about it, I was like, this is great for my major and for what I want to do. It's exactly what I want. And when I came and visited here, although I only did it once before I committed, it felt right. Like I liked the campus. And Madison for me was more of just like, it was a comfort thing. And I did recognize that there was a smaller Jewish community, but that wasn't really a worry for me or my parents because they knew I grew up in a fairly Jewish home. So it was something that I wanted to maintain and something they knew I would maintain.
Nice. What about you, Amy?
Right. And I think for me, most people coming out of college like may think I'm crazy knowing exactly what I wanted to do, but I wanted to major in biomedical engineering and it was very specific. And so it was only offered in a couple states, a couple schools, and I applied to the ones closest. I got in-state through the academic common market.
Nice.
And with that was just kind of like, you're going there.
It all worked out.
It all worked out because there was a couple things I was looking for. I wanted a Hillel that was present. I wanted some more Jewish students to be able to be around. I wanted the SEC big school kind of vibe because my brother went down to Ole Miss, so we've got some rivalry. So that's fun. But so it kind of just checked all my boxes and got my major in there, and that was the most important part. So.
Perfect. Mitch, what about you, buddy?
So like Jamie, we actually grew up in the same community. Growing up in Memphis, you know, it's pretty far away from Knoxville, but it's in-state, and in-state tuition is obviously something that your parents want you to keep your eye on. But, you know, Memphis is kind of a weird dynamic. Not a lot of Tennessee fans, at least not where I grew up. So when my dad told me that he wanted to take me up to tour my junior year, I wasn't really considering it. My mom's side of the family is really big Michigan fans, Michigan State fans, and I always like to tell this little story that the night before I first stepped foot on campus was the Sweet 16 basketball game where it was a very controversial call. there was a charge called on one of the Tennessee players, and Michigan ended up beating Tennessee in the Sweet 16. And the only hoodie I had brought up that weekend was my Michigan hoodie. And so the next day we go on our, pretty inconvenient, but what are you to do? So I go with my dad and my younger brother the next morning to go to the tour, and it was kind of cold. It was really overcast. My dad was like, yeah, I don't think you should be wearing that. And I was like, whatever. So we go on the tour, and honestly, this campus just blew me away. It was absolutely beautiful. Memphis is not that different, but in terms of geography, it's incredibly different. And halfway through the tour, it started raining, and everyone had an umbrella or a hoodie, and I got soaked. And maybe I could be like, oh, well, maybe I'm not supposed to be here. But in all honesty, I fell in love with this campus from the first time I set foot on it. So a year later, when it came time to decide where I'm going, this is where I ended up, and I'm glad I did.
Maybe it's the Michigan hoodie.
I don't know what happened to that hoodie.
Jamie, something that you mentioned was kind of like looking into what the size of the Jewish population was, and y'all mentioned like having an active Hillel and stuff like that. So what resources were available when y'all were in high school looking at UT into the Jewish community?
I think the biggest thing for me that made me realize that I liked UT was the fact that the tour guide actually knew that there was 2 synagogues down the street. I was like, so what's the closest synagogue? Where, like, do we have a Hillel house on campus? Which we don't, we're working on it. But the fact that she just had that knowledge to make me feel like I was welcomed as a Jewish student, that made a big change for me, because I went home and I was like, Mom, Dad, like, they have a synagogue right down the street, and they have this, and they have that.
Kingston Pike.
Right, it was the fact that the tour guides were very educated, which helped me, because you can always find everything online.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, sorry. For me, it was very comforting, because my mom, she does research online like crazy. We call it redshirting. It's a long story, but it's like a thing now. Whenever she says I'm going to redshirt it, it means she's going to do crazy in-depth research on it. So she did, and she found like the numbers for the amount of Jewish students in Tennessee that go here, and then in Knoxville. And she also found out about the 2 synagogues that are in Kingston Pike, and that there's also a Hillel or a Chabad, that's very close by. And so that was very comforting for me as well.
I was going to say, there's this thing called like Jewish geography, where like if you meet someone that's Jewish, you can like ask them all the other Jews that you know, and like there's a very high chance that someone you listed they'll know. And so
I've
like
never
for
heard
me,
of that.
Yeah, so for me, like Jewish geography came into play. So like I knew one girl here who was Jewish, and she like knew this other person who was coming. So like we all kind of like were able to get connected to the needed resources. So that helped a lot.
And it's funny, a lot of my Jewish friends I've met here, I'll be like scrolling through Instagram and see the very first like, oh, Jamie Marcus. I'm like, how do you know this person? I met in Arizona.
I'm moving to Baltimore next year, and today I was on Facebook, and I have a mutual friend with someone, and I texted him if he knew him, and he was like, you Jews know everyone. So yeah, it's definitely a thing. Happened today. But yeah.
It sounds like everyone else here kind of did their research, which makes me the outlier.
Yet again, Michigan hoodie, the outlier again.
Yeah. But, Jamie and I grew up in the same city, metropolitan area. We both grew up in Germantown, which is a suburb right outside of Memphis. But we had pretty different upbringings in terms of the neighborhoods we lived in. I actually didn't live in the same town as Jamie. I lived a town over until high school, and it was still suburban, but definitely more rural. We were the only Jewish family in town. And when we moved to Memphis when I was 7, everyone in Memphis is pretty close-knit, Jewish community or not. So I didn't really go to preschool or kindergarten or first grade with these kids. And my elementary school, my brother and I were the first Jews. So I say all this to make the point that when it came to college, by that time in high school, Jamie and I were both involved in youth organization. I would work out and play basketball at the JCC, or at least try and play basketball. I wasn't very good. And I figured that wherever I go, I'll make friends, and if they happen to be Jewish, that's cool. If not, my grandparents were the only people that did research, and the phone call that I got from them was probably the same number that your mom ended up looking at, 150 Jewish students, and rather than that being like, oh, look how many Jews there are, they're like, yeah, you probably should go to Michigan. But yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't probably do as much research as I should have done, but like I said in the beginning, I'm don't regret my
out.
decision
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
Worked
second.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's awesome that like all of y'all have been able to find that community and kind of connect in that way to at the university. How important is that community in times of crisis? Thinking back to events that happened in the fall, how has knowing each other and having that group helped in those moments, or been a challenge here?
So, for me personally, just because of the conditions I grew up in and everything, I mean, this stuff doesn't bother me a lot. When you're a second, third grade student and your classmates find out, oh, you're Jewish, what does that mean? Oh, they say things that they probably shouldn't, like, oh, you're going to hell or something. You kind of get thick skin. So this stuff doesn't bother me, but inversely, I have a younger brother that's a freshman here, and so I know for him, being part of Hillel, and he's also currently a member of the Jewish fraternity, AEPI, on campus, and he, that was something that really impacted him a lot. He was very upset. I mean, he's only 18 years old, and I know that not only having his brother here, but having Hillel and AEPI and Jewish friends, that really made a difference for him.
Right, and I think Mitch and I have a different view than at least Naveet. I mean, my mom's Catholic, my dad's Jewish, so I grew up interfaith. I was educated on everything, and I think most of these issues relied in the ignorance, and so I've always been someone that's like ready to educate and ready to stand strong and fight whatever comes at me. So, like for instance, in high school, I was like celebrating Passover, and I was sitting outside at this football stadium, and I was eating my matzah, and some people came by and were making rude remarks, and I like immediately shut that down and talked to their administration about it and helped them learn how to educate their students properly. And so I have been faced with a lot of things similar to Mitch. I mean, like my brother was given the Heil Hitler with the swastika. Like, it's not like, for me to see things like this, it's just not something that I have never seen before. Not something I haven't ever like had to argue with before. And I even wrote my like college entrance essay 3 years ago on the value of not using the word hate. So I think that it's always been something that I've been proactive about. So I don't think it hit me as hard. I just wasn't as shocked by it. It was kind of like, okay, so I need to handle this on behalf of the organizations I need to handle it on, and I need to support those who are struggling and make sure I'm listening to everyone's opinions. And that's just kind of how I handled it the best I could. But.
Yeah, like Emily said, I'm out of state and I guess Minnesota up north. So I personally have never been attacked or have had anything said to me just because I'm Jewish. But I did have a friend. He went to the University of Minnesota, Twin Cities, and he actually had swastikas put on his dorm wall and on his door. And so part of my rationale with dealing with what happened with the rock was it happened in Minnesota. I understand that this is not just a Tennessee thing, even up north where you might not expect it per se, it still happens. And having Hillel was incredibly useful to me to know that I have so many people I can talk to, and just how we reacted and responded to the incident, we are small but we are strong. And that was very impactful for me to see just how strong our Jewish people are and our leadership is.
And it wasn't just our Jewish students. I mean, I had gotten a phone call that night from Mitch, and I needed a ride because I didn't have my car. And I was like, by the time I got there, it was maybe 15 minutes. I live at University Walk. It wasn't that far. And by the time I got there, it was completely covered up by student government. And I could not have appreciated that more. So that
was awesome.
Also, adding to that, I thought of this earlier today. So speaking of resources, so obviously there's Hillel, and I also want to mention that I've really been embraced by the greater Knoxville community. So I babysit for all of the Jewish professors' kids, and I would say I'm pretty connected, which is great because I didn't realize freshman year how much I would just miss a house, and they would invite me over for Shabbat dinners, and I would say that has really enhanced my college years. But I also wanted to highlight that, so my roommates can attest to this. So in March or April, when Dr. Shea came in, she had one of her goals was to meet with all of the leaders of student organizations. So she emailed me, and you can ask my roommates. I was like, whatever, let's go through this motion. She doesn't actually care. I'll go to this meeting. What was so just cool. She can check off that she met with me. I would guess I was kind of burnt out, you could say, at that point. And then when this crisis happened, like all the rock stuff happened, it was incredible. Like I finally understood like why she wanted to meet with me. Like she knew who we were, she knew who our faculty advisor, like she knew what we did, and it was just, I can't even put into words like how great it was that we already like had made those connections with resources. Like and Dr. Shea even said it, and it really like struck home with me, was that like the first time you meet someone should not be in times of crisis. So like I didn't see the value in that until a crisis. Like it's a shame that I had to see the value in it, but like there's such great value in like knowing your resources before a crisis happens, so that you can just like go straight into protocol and do what needs to be done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which was great.
So when y'all talk about like those moments of crisis and the importance of community outside of just the Jewish community, like volunteers as a whole, what does that look like? Is it where it needs to be, or are there improvements that can be made with support for the Jewish community at UT? Like what can be done to make that better if it does need to be made better?
I think I can start. So I think a lot of it, I've always said that like ignorance is bliss. Obviously that's a saying, I didn't come up with it, but like so much of it is just rooted in ignorance. So like I think part of that is education about just like different groups and like different types of spaces. Obviously like having a Hillel house would be greatly beneficial to the entire community, and I would say that's something everyone's working on, but that will definitely take like more than just us. But also, so I think there's this need to recognize that like anti-Semitism as a whole is different than, we were talking about this earlier, like different than previous anti-Semitism. And by that I mean that not only is it coming from like all ends of the spectrum politically, but it's also I would say it's a lot easier to be like overlooked today. So like it still is like Hell Hitler, like stuff like that, but it's also just like the buzzword like microaggressions and things like that. Like I was trying not to use that buzzword, but
it's okay.
It's true. Like
sometimes it's necessary.
Yeah, and I think so. On like the other question you guys asked, like you guys kind of mentioned having thick skin, and I kind of have this refusal to have thick skin. Like I refuse to believe that like this is what I have to accept as appropriate, and I refuse to believe that like I should be okay with the rock being defaced. Not okay, like I'm not saying you guys were okay, but like I am not happy that it really hurt me, and I was not able to have as thick of skin as others. And so I think there's just like this need for education and like to have protocols and to be able to respond to things.
Yeah.
I understand that a lot. I think that, going back to something you said before I answered the initial question, that, being a political science major, this is, you can ask my roommate Sam that like we just sit, and he's in engineering, the kid's one of the smartest guys I've ever met in my life. And we just sit together and like watch political videos and stuff on YouTube, total nerd. But like there's this quote that I've heard a lot recently where it's like one of the one thing that unites the radical right and like the radical left, politically rather, is anti-Semitism, or is a hatred of Jews, and it's like for complete opposite reasons, right? So
Completely.
Like we can get into this later if you guys want, but like for example, right, when people think of anti-Semitism, a lot of times they think of what I like to call your grandpa's anti-Semitism, which is basically what, no pun intended, but like my grandpa had to go through. So, when you're driving through New York and you stay at a motel at night and there's a sign on the door that says no dogs or Jews, like that's what they think of. They think of the KKK, they think of Christian fundamentalists. And that is totally something that exists, but it's not to the extent that most people think. A lot of times it's other things that, like I said, we can get into this later if we want, that has to deal more with political stuff in the Middle East. But in direct answer to your initial question, I think that, the past 2 years specifically, going from a sophomore up until a senior and like trying to mature and develop, I've become a big believer in not asking other people or not relying on other people to fix your problems. So when you ask things like what can UT do for us, like I totally appreciate it, and I know that there are a lot of people out there that are asking that same question. They want to be good Vols, they want to be good people. But I think that we're at a pretty good spot, right? I think that most people know that you're not supposed to use certain derogatory terms to certain ethnic groups. You're not supposed to treat other people like garbage regardless of their circumstance. I think we know that. The only thing I would be critical of is I think that our generation is very empathetic. We are very good at seeing our pain and personal experiences in other people, and not to harp on the old trope, but I think we're kind of lazy too. So there's one thing to feel something for someone else and see that they're suffering and to feel bad for them. It's another to go up to that person, put your hand on their shoulder and be like, hey man, I totally understand what you're doing for, and I'm here. I think we all need to do more of that, myself included.
I agree. I guess kind of the final thing that I wanted to ask you all is, when you hear the phrase Jewish volunteer, which is what each of you are, what does that make you think? How does that make you feel? Does it give you a sense of pride? Like, when you look back at your entire experience as both being a Jew and a Vol, when you put those together, how does that make you feel?
It's a loaded question. I think that it is pride. I really do. I mean, every single group that I'm involved in on campus, I cannot tell you that there has not been a single interaction where people haven't like questioned me in a good way though. Like asking me, like my friends asking me, so I hear there's different types of Jewish people, like Orthodox, Reform, please explain that to me. And they like want to know. And so kind of just feeling like I am that person that can represent a whole group and not speak for the whole group, but can like educate on the group. That makes me feel like proud to be who I am and who I grew up to be. So
Nice.
Yeah, I agree. I've always been proud to be Jewish, and being a volunteer I'm very proud of. So put those together. Like Emily said, it's just something to be very proud of. And I mean, very similar to Emily, all the friends that I have that aren't Jewish, it's always been positive. Like, oh, Passover's coming up, like what are you gonna eat? Or like tell me a little bit more about Shabbat. So I think like spreading the volunteer message of being there for people and making sure that everyone is like okay as a Jew, it makes it so that you're there for everyone and you're also there to help people understand as well.
people want to know. Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
most of the things that have happened on campus, I think, are from them maybe not knowing and not understanding the way it may affect someone, or just not being properly educated on the topic as a whole. And so I think, like, as volunteers across the board, not just for the Jewish community but for all communities, we need to do our part in educating on like who we are and how we became to be, like, as my personal self, and try to use that to create a community where everyone feels like their voice is heard and they're welcome.
I think, and I've said this before, I think I mentioned this last semester at the Rock when we had that vigil, that I think the best way we can do things like that and teach other people is literally just by going out and being yourself. By having a friend that's Jewish, I mean, I don't have the statistics right in front of me, but I'm pretty sure that most people that have a Jewish friend are less likely to hold anti-Semitic beliefs. Like,
I would say so. I would say so.
just for example, one of my best friends at this university is he's Egyptian. He emigrated here a couple years ago. He's a Christian from Cairo. I have never met an Egyptian person before. One of our other really good friends who graduated last semester is Saudi. I mean, I'd never met people like that. And like, I learned so much about themselves as people, but also where they come from and the Middle East and just their families and those values of those societies just by hanging out with them.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think that's the best thing we can do.
Jamie?
I don't know. I'm really not trying to stir the pot, but I think we're kind of sugarcoating things. Like,
Okay.
I mean, it took administration a week to meet with us after the Rock happened. It happened again, and like, I'm still questioning some of the stuff that went on. And like, yeah, my roommate's like, one of my roommates is from Newport, Tennessee, and like, didn't know what kosher was, and she's so excited that Passover is coming up, and like, yay for Kaylee, like, great. But I think there's still groups on this campus, and I think there's still administrative people who are being silent in times that they need to be speaking. And
I think a lot of those people are also learning from maybe some of them, like some of us may see as like a mistake that they didn't do. I think they're learning from that.
well, I would like to think that, because like, with the blackface incident, like, I would say like, obviously I still have my concerns with administration, but like, they replied immediately. There was like all this stuff, and I'm not like, obviously we're at a table. There's enough seats at the table for everyone's voices to be heard. But like, where was that when The Rock happened? Like, there was a hate group tagging The Rock, and like, I'm really not trying to stir the pot, but like, it really makes me mad, and it really. And again, like, for the record, like, there are enough seats at the table, but I think that the Jewish seat is not as recognized sometimes.
I don't think you're stirring the pot. I
don't think
totally
so.
understand.
Yeah.
We
But
haven't.
Telling the truth is like what this is meant for.
Yeah.
So
And that's 100% valid.
Yeah, and I think there, like, I would not trade my college experience for the world. Like, when you ask what it means to be a Jewish volunteer, like, it has really shaped me as a person, as a professional, as a student, everything. And like, I use the experiences from what we've had to face, but like, ideally I don't have those. Like, obviously it helps, like, I'm a better leader, but like, ideally I didn't have to go through
absolutely
The Rock
the
to
moments
become
of
that
trauma
way.
that like yeah.
So I just want to kind of like, and again, like, I love my friends, they're so supportive. Like, they came over for Hanukkah last semester, like, great. But I think we live in those like safe bubbles where our friends are supportive, and I think there's definitely people on the outside that are not as supportive.
Absolutely.
I agree. I agree 100%. And I don't want to take the time we have if anyone else wants to say something. I just want to quickly get it out there that, like I said in the beginning, I don't believe that the best thing going forward is to rely on other people to solve our problems. So, I don't like to be talk about like, oh, how does that make me feel? I don't like to be emotional. You can ask my mom. I tell her that all the time, and she's like,
I'm like the opposite. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is how I feel. Like,
got a
write
nice
it down,
contrast.
take notes,
Exactly.
Two ways
like,
to take this.
exactly.
please respond to my needs.
Yeah, but in all honesty,
I understand.
it sucks when you feel like you're attacked for something that you can't control. That your identity. That to you, when you think of what is Jewish about me, you think of family, great things. When other people attack that for whatever reason, it sucks, and it hurts even more when the people that you feel are supposed to be protecting you don't do what you think they should do. And let's just be honest, they did not handle it the correct way. They're working on it, and I'm not making any moral judgments about them, but they did not handle it the correct way.
And
I just think that the best thing forward is let's try and urge them in the right direction, but in the meantime, let's try and take the emphasis off of other people trying to be there for us and just be stronger people ourselves. It's hard, and I'm not telling you that I know how to do it exactly, but I think that we've all become stronger through these experiences, and not because other people are trying to lift us up.
Yeah. Does anyone have any final thoughts, kind of something to conclude? Does anyone have anything else you want to say?
I think most of it's been pretty out there in the
Yeah.
open and covered. I mean, I do think that what Jamie said is true. I think that there's always room for improvement, no matter the aspect. But I will still say that as a Jew, I'm very proud, and I'm very proud to be a volunteer. So that's just my standpoint, is I'm proud to be here, and I'm proud of who I am.
Absolutely.
And so, like Mitch said, if you're continuing to be who you are wholeheartedly, then it really doesn't matter what the other people say. It's your job to educate them about who you are as a person. And so
The last thing.
Oh, go ahead.
So the last thing I'll say is, like, and this isn't necessarily related to me as a Jew or anything, but I got we have 5 weeks left at school here, and it's just really surreal to think that I've spent 4 years at this. It really feels like just yesterday that I was set foot on campus. I moved into my dorm. I remember meeting my roommate freshman year for the first time. And
Having some of the same feelings.
it's crazy. It's
You said you weren't
crazy.
emotional, but you're about to make me cry, man.
You're fine. You're the one that's emotional. But to wrap it up into a nice little package, I am moving. I'm not going to stay in Knoxville. I plan to move to DC in a couple weeks, and hopefully my life takes me in places that I can't even imagine at this moment, and I have no doubt that it will. But as corny as it sounds, it's true. I will always be able to look back and think of my time here as a volunteer, as a student, as a person that came in as a kind of immature 18-year-old and managed to graduate as a less immature 22-year-old. So
Absolutely.
I wouldn't trade this experience in these 4 years for anything.
Absolutely. Jamie, did you have anything else?
No, we can leave.
Go Vols.
I was on that, I just want to point out, this will be my last thought, but I think Emily said a good point, and like what Mitch said, like that's kind of the Jewish mindset. Like obviously not like the pick yourself up from the bootstraps like American way, but like typically throughout history, it's like the golden era, then Jews get persecuted, then the golden era, like, and it's like the Jews kind of like picked themselves up. And I think I would like to leave with the note of it would be nice if it wasn't just us picking ourselves
Absolutely.
up. Like,
Agreed.
I think it's important to have that mindset, like not just be a complainer, be a problem solver, and like work with communities, but it would be, it would be great to like have the entire community working
100%.
towards that idea. And I just like wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah. Jamie, Naveet, Emily, Mitch, thank y'all so much. I
for
really do
having us.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you for having us.
If any of you have any questions following this episode, feel free to go to the belong.utk.edu website and submit your questions or comments there. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.